I would like to say that now billing your clients on time and getting paid on time is going to be completely automated and also be super easy in SuperOps.ai. So going with that, quickly showing you, let's say you are this cool MSP with a great smile because you are getting all the money on time. So showing you how we can do that in SuperOps.ai is the first part is, of course, populating the list of services or your service catalog. And for people who are already using SuperOps, of course, you would know where it is and what we do there. Of course, we have a service catalog page where you can go ahead and add your own service items that you offer, which are categorized into various properties. Either if it's a product, ideally your inventory and non-inventory items go here. Any work log hours, that is, let's say your labor, troubleshooting, on-site hours, anything hours that you want to log and track, then you would create it as a work log hour item and use it as part of your, let's say, work logs in a ticket or so. And some retainers, let's say if you want to charge your clients a standard retainer fee and get them deducted against standard hours or standard money, then you could choose one of these items, which is block hours or block money, and clearly say against which items are they kind of adjusted, right? So you would be able to create these types of services that you would offer as an MSP. But the ideal best practice way is to not manually create all of them, but the easiest way would be is most likely you would be having your bookkeeping tool, which like a QuickBooks or a Xero. So we have integrated with both of them, where you can clearly see that once you go ahead and integrate with QuickBooks or Xero, we will automatically pull in all your list of offerings, which is including your inventory, non-inventory items, or whatever you have been billing your clients on. All these items will be pulled in. And also you would be able to create your clients and map them in SuperOps.ai with this one integration itself. So one of the best practices to go here is go ahead and integrate your invoice and billing tool first. This will automatically fetch your service catalog or also your clients, and everything will be mapped. So down the line, when you go through all the process that I'm going to tell you, the end result is you will start here and end once an invoice is generated, you get paid, etc. You will sync back to your billing tool. So I'm going to show you the whole journey as such, but this is an ideal way to start with by bringing your clients and your service items. Now, once that is done, of course, you will have your client in place in SuperOps.ai, and you can start billing. Let's say you can start adding your billing agreements. Now, what do I mean by that is you can have a contract specified, and based on the items that you have, you can say how you have how are you providing them. For example, if they are going to be part of standard subscription, then I can go ahead and say, let's say, for example, I'm going to add a standard block money, which is going to be the retainer fee, and also maybe some external hard drives or Microsoft nonprofit business is the license that I'll be providing, and a standard fixed fee of external hard disk that I want to charge once, etc. So anything that you want to charge on a recurring subscription basis, you can choose to quickly add them. And while you add them, of course, you have a certain list of, let's say, properties that you can mention to make sure that the billing is completely automated when it's going to be recurring in terms of subscription. And we have made a lot of announcements here to make your life easy. For example, let's say that I'm starting a subscription for Microsoft Non-Business Pro for this particular customer, and I want to manually maintain this subscription with the customer. This is an example, but this could mean this could apply to a fixed fee or anything that's recurring, right? So this is an example that I'm giving you. I can specify the quantity. If it's all users or all assets, then we'll automatically fetch it. But if it's going to be custom, I can provide what that is. And if it's monthly, annual, I can say that. And I can even say, hey, generally my billing cycle is from the first of every month. Even though I'm adding these licenses on 22nd, I don't want that to disturb my billing cycle. So I can say, hey, my billing start date is always on the first and the cycle is always on the first. So what will SuperOps understand from this is on every first, it's going to charge on a monthly basis for this a particular item. So that's what the billing start date tells. But however, I know you would have to get the money upfront to make sure that there is a difference calculated for the number of days that's left until the first. So I can even mention what's the quantity, let's say 10, and I can say it's effective right from today. Now, the best part is SuperOps automatically calculates the prorated amount, and I can choose to either immediately create an invoice and send it over to the customer, or I can even just hit save. And in the interest of time, I'm just removing the other items, but pretty much everything is going to be the same workflow. And once I hit save, what happens is now SuperOps knows that on first of every month, I have to bill for this particular item. But however, there is a prorated charge for the next upcoming 8 days that is already added to your billing queue. So that's how easy subscriptions is in SuperOps.ai. And down the line, now let's say you have to modify these subscriptions, don't worry at all, just go into the subscription and just say modify quantity, and you can say, are you increasing the quantity or decreasing the quantity? If you're decreasing it, it's going to be effective from the next cycle onwards. If you're increasing it, I can say by how much. Let's say I can just say by 3, so that the count has to increase into 3, and I can say from when it has to take place. And if there is a prorated charge, SuperOps will automatically calculate, either again, same, you can generate an invoice or push it to the billing queue, etc. Now we have made by that managing subscriptions super straightforward and easy and completely automated. And moving on, of course, as part of your billing agreement, you can also define saying for all the work log items, how you have to bill them. Let's say in general, your on-site hours charges is $150, but for this particular client, you agreed on to give it a 5% discount, etc. You can mention all those conditions. And let's say you have a particular technician who's an expert and their time is very precious. You're paying them a lot. You can even have conditional pricing saying whenever a particular technician logs in a labor hour, charge them at a different rate, right? So all this can be done. So in short, this is the page where you define an agreement saying that how am I going to charge this client? If I log work, how it should be calculated? If I'm not logging work, if it's subscription or recurring, how it should be calculated. So this is where you define all of this in SuperOps. And once this is done, you can leave the grunt work to SuperOps.ai. Now what happens is now any work that I log, it will go through an audit process as well. So all your technicians can keep logging work. Let's say I have to quickly say for this particular ticket, I log some work saying that I provided remote support for, let's say, 5 hours, or let's say that seems unrealistic. Maybe I'll just use 1 hour and say I went on a call and fixed this problem, etc. And as and when I log this work for every client, it keeps adding to that particular client's audit queue. So as you can see, once I go into that particular client's audit queue, you will see all these logs of work that you are doing coming here, and you can quickly review them, maybe make changes if you would like. This step is there just to make sure that we are going ahead and ensuring that before you bill your client, you are sure of what you're billing. If you want to make some final changes, you can go ahead and do that, because all these entries are manually added by technicians, and you want to make sure that that's taken care of. So the moment you say you have approved it, everything piles up in your billing queue. What do I mean by billing queue is this is a queue where it keeps piling up. Let's say as and when you add your work logs and approve it, it's going to come into this queue. Your subscriptions on that particular dates, it's going to be keep adding it to the queue. Now you can see that if you remember for the item we added, there was a prorated charge that is also added into the queue because I didn't generate an immediate invoice. So anything recurring subscriptions or anything that you are approving, everything will be automatically added to the queue. And before, let's say you have an invoice schedule in place saying that first of every month you have to generate an invoice, what SuperOps basically does is goes to the billing queue, identifies what and all items is there, and just on the fly generate an invoice automatically. And the best part, you can even set up some integration with Stripe and have customers card on file. So when the invoice is generated, your customers can be even auto charged for the invoice. So the end-to-end process can be completely automated with SuperOps.ai. Right, so that is how you can bring in your items first. Just to recap, you can bring in your items first, then you can create your billing agreements, which is subscriptions, and how you are going to log work for them, how you're going to charge them, etc. And after that, you audit them, and this is where your billing queue is showing you what is going to be invoiced. And finally, you would be able to create an invoice and send it to your customer. You can automate even sending these to your customers, etc. Now, this complete flow is what we rolled out in the recent times, where we made a lot of small enhancements based on all of your inputs that came across multiple calls, Canny, etc. But also we realized after the invoice is generated, the world is not pretty straightforward. You will have negotiations with your clients. They might have not expected a particular charge at all. They would want you to defer an item. They would want you to give some discounts, and all of this happens. And this is not predictable, and we understand that. That is why the moment, let's say you go ahead and, for example, in the same example, let's say I go to the billing queue and even I can generate a client, or moment invoice is generated automatically. As you can see, it will be in a draft state, and I can look into the invoice and make sure that everything looks fine. I can even edit the invoice, maybe add some discounts, because I'm pretty sure the client is going to not going to be okay with this. So maybe add a 20% discount, maybe add some final discounts, additional discount percentages. And if you want to modify terms taxes, because some clients might say that some items are not taxable for them because they have some exempts. So if you want to modify all that, you can choose to do that as well, and hit regenerate invoice, and maybe change some pricing or add descriptions, what exactly you want to tell your customers. All of this is auto-populated, but any final changes you would like to make as well, you could choose to do that. And I'll also come to another use case on when this will be very useful for you. But this is a case where ideally when an invoice is generated and your customer is saying that, no, I want to make some changes, you can quickly go ahead and edit the invoice. And as you can see, the changes would reflect. And I can choose to send the invoice later saying, hey, I have sent the invoice, the edited invoice. Now, the best part is the moment you send them the invoice, the email that was sent is brought in as a chat window right here itself. So they can reply to it saying, nah, this doesn't work for me, make some changes, etc. You can have to and fro conversations with your client right here in this inbox itself. Keep making the edits, keep regenerating the invoice, and send it to your client until they are happy. And finally, when you're ready, saying that they are ready to pay, you can give them the option to pay with Stripe or push it to your bookkeeping tool so that you can go ahead and get that payment, etc. So we have made that flexible option completely. And when it comes to invoicing, there was other use cases as well where it's not about completely automating it, but you might want to generate invoices on the fly. So that also is taken care of now. As you can see in SuperOps, you can just quickly create an invoice from scratch. I can say for which client I would like to create an invoice for, and which site, if I want to particularly send it for a particular site at a site-wise billing. And from the service catalog, I can go ahead and choose saying what and all I have to invoice for the customer. And I can even see across categories what I have to add. And also the best part is if there are any items that's waiting in the billing queue, that will also be shown. So if you want to just invoice those things as well, and you don't want to wait until the schedule, you can choose to even add all of them. And while you select across the screens, you can just see what and all you have selected. Hit done, and it's going to immediately create a blank invoice for you. You can go ahead and mention these, let's say, quantities that you would like, how you would want to send these invoices, all of that. You get the drill. It's very similar to how you edit it, sample descriptions, etc. And that's about it. You give all this information, build your invoice the way you want it. It's a free plain canvas. And then you can either save it as a draft so that you can send it later, or just immediately save and send it to your client. And as you know, the moment you send an invoice, of course, you will see the chat window pop up as well. They will have received the invoice. You can have conversations about that. Again, edit it, and the same drill goes to and fro, right? So we have made this part completely flexible so that whatever changes, a business decision that you have to make based on your client conversation, you can make it on the fly. And once everything is done, what we have covered you is the integration with either QuickBooks or Xero. So once an invoice is there, you can even say you have done all the negotiations, the invoice is finalized. The best practice is until you finalize the invoice with your client, you don't need to push it to your billing tool. Generally, if you will not have these scenarios, it's a recurring charge, automatic charges. You don't need to do this manually. We will automate it for you. You can even say automatically push to QuickBooks or Xero. But all these processes will be there in general with your clients. Ideally, I would suggest not to use this option, but go through all these experiences, have flexibility in your play, make these changes. And once you have done all these changes, then you can push it to QuickBooks. And what we have also done is, let's say while pushing, if you face some error, we will also show saying what is the error so that you can immediately fix it on your own and repush it. So everything is become DIY, straightforward and automated in SuperOps.ai, from having your contracts, items, creating an invoice, and syncing with your bookkeeping tool so that your taxes are reconciled without any issues, right? So that's exactly what we have rolled out. So we believe now any MSP who would like to log work, raise invoices, sync it with your bookkeeping tool should be sorted, and also do it with ease compared to how they are doing